And we are back, Stu. We've not spoken for a while. I'm sure you've only watched like one or two films. You've just got back from having a dodgy voice. I got back from MCM Comic Con in London with one of those wonderful nerd flu cold things. So that hammered me for the week. But we are back to talk about movies that we've watched, the good and the bad. Where do we start? I mean, you've watched how many films have you watched since we last chatted?
18, 18 films.
18
I'm
films.
currently on for the year. Sorry, I am using my Letterboxd. Since finding Letterboxd a couple of years ago, my God, that app is fantastic. It so helps cataloging your films that you've watched and stuff like that, and with little ratings beside you so you can remember what you've seen at the end of the year. It's so handy for that. And I wish I had Letterboxd when I did the Monday movie show.
It'll
It
be
would
so
have
much easier.
helped me so much considering for that. I know last year I saw 152 new films in that year.
Yeah.
But when I did the Monday movie show, that would be close to 250, 300 films I would have watched in a year. And so reams of paper with lots of numbers and names and stuff like that scribbled on it. Currently, at the moment, I've seen 73 films, 73 new films this year.
That's more. That's close to double what. Oh, it's not close double, but it's definitely more than I've seen. And I'm including things that I've watched before, like Superman 3 and Superman 1 and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
it fascinates me that generally in a year, I think probably like 90% or if not more of the films you watch are ones you've never seen before.
it's actually very more close to 95,
Is it really?
96%. It's rare these days. Yeah, it's rare these days that I'll rewatch something. Um, it's just by the time I finished work and I'm going, oh, I want to play a video game or I want to watch a film, I'll go, I want to watch a new film rather than I want to rewatch something. So it's rare that I actually do that. Hence why when I do my lists are all new films I've only
Yeah.
watched in that specific year that came out that specific year as well.
Do you not get like
So
the urge, you have a tough day at work or whatever, you come back from a noisy gig and you go, I just want to watch something that I know is good, so I'm going to put on Pan's Labyrinth or put on Paddington 2 or something. You don't seem to have that.
yeah, those urges come, but they're very rare. They're
Yeah.
not like that often. If I go, oh, you know what, I fancy watching something really nice and comfortable, like Floor or something like that, just to ease myself down. But if I notice something that's there that I haven't seen that I was slightly interested in watching, I
Hmm.
would put that film that I've not seen that I'm slightly interested in watching above the film that I know is going to calm me down. Just my brain works on a very weird. It's work.
It does.
It's still works on the sort of like the film review kind of brain rather than the
Yeah.
comfort kind of watching brain. So, but it will happen every now and again that I'll go, you know what, I want to watch this film because I've seen it before and I know how enjoyable it is, or I know that it's a stupid film that is going to make me giggle, or well, there are very, very rare and few and far between those kind
Yeah.
of movies. But yeah, it'll sort of like calm me down, a calm down kind of film, but it's rare.
So have you not got a big, I know you probably do own some physical media, but have you not got a big physical media collection of like your favorite movies and
I
stuff?
I used to, but you need the space. And I live
Mm.
in a four-room flat. And then considering I work from home as well, if I didn't work from home, where I'm sat right at this moment in time, I
Yeah.
would have, I know you can see like an iced tea just behind me, just
Yeah.
because it's very warm, but right where I'm sat here, just in front of me, this is my workspace. This is where I work from. I've got two monitors in front of me, my keyboard's here, my laptop's just beside us. And then just to the right of us, I've got a big 50-inch television just to the right of us here,
Yeah.
pointing in that direction there. So I've got no space, and so I used to have thousands and thousands of DVDs and stuff like that, and so I just had to get rid of most of them.
How did you get rid of them?
So I didn't want anything from them. I collected them over the. Obviously, I kept the ones that meant something to me.
Yeah.
So I didn't get rid of all of them. For example, I've got the steelbook versions of all the Alien films. Like they're in they're very hard to find the steelbook versions of those films now. So
Mm.
I've got them. I've got a very limited edition copy of Event Horizon, which came in the Event Horizon ship. So you open the top up and you've got the discs in there. I've got a really rare limited edition of Hellboy 2 and the Golden Army. which
Okay.
was signed by Guillermo del Toro, and it came with an art book and it's got a statue with it.
Nice.
So I've got that. I've even got that Video Nasties documentary.
Yeah.
Jake West, signed
Yep.
by him. I've got that. So I kept the important ones. I just got rid of them all, and I just because I was feeling generous, I threw a message up on Facebook going,
Who
if
was?
anybody is after all these DVDs, if you want to sell them at a car boot sale, want to give them to a charity shop, want to keep them for yourself, first person, first come, first serve. This guy messages within like 10
I
minutes.
bet he
So
did.
the only caveat is you've got to come and pick them up.
Yeah.
And I helped him out with quite a few boxes of DVDs. And he went, do you want something for them? I went, no, just do whatever you want with
Wow.
them.
I wished I
They're
lived in
yours.
Sunderland at that time.
The amount of obscure films and stuff like that that was within them
Yeah.
was he would have been looking through them going, I've never heard of pretty much 80% of these films,
Yeah, but
in all
that's
honesty.
one of
But
the joys of it, though, isn't it? I love going, and it's not something I do now, but I love going to people's houses and like seeing what films they had and what music they listened to, and it's like you can learn a lot about people by seeing what weird and wonderful films they have. But I could just imagine your collection was pretty like, well, I've never even heard of 90% of these, but
yeah,
putting them on. Would there be any films that you had in your collection that this guy just put on and he's like, Jesus, this, Stu Miller might have been a serial killer or something? Was there a lot of horror stuff in there?
probably because about 60%, 65% of my collection was horror films.
Yeah.
So, because I was that kind of person who used to go to HMV or used to go to Blockbusters or Global Video, and any of the horror films that they used to have in the bargain bin that they used to sell to get rid of because they didn't want to send them back or whatever, I used to buy them. I
Hmm.
had a ton of like very obscure film 2000 horror films, or when Lionsgate was just absolutely releasing like 20 different horror films every single week, or those kind of stuff. I've got a load of I had a load of those. Now people just have to look at my letterbox or look at what I'm listening to on YouTube to find out my obscurity when it comes to horror, to films or music or whatever.
So where do you find the obscure horror films now? I'm guessing Tubi probably is one. Shudder would be another one. I'm guessing Netflix and Amazon Prime isn't full of really weird, obscure horror films that nobody else has heard of.
Amazon Prime has started to become a place where it is easier to find horror films that you've never heard of because it's down to an algorithm. The algorithms on those streaming platforms, once you start watching a couple of films, they know what your taste is. So they
Yeah.
start suggesting films. And so Amazon Prime have sort of like become the Lionsgate trash of streaming services when it comes to horror films, surprisingly. For example, I bet you didn't know there is another Amityville horror film just released called Amityville Apartment.
Yeah, I see there's a guy on Facebook, well, my Facebook friends, he's using it. It's Kier Arts is his Facebook name. And he every couple of weeks he seems to post this poster art where it's like Amazon picnic hamper or Amityville picnic hamper or Amityville pet shop. And I'm like, is he just making these things up, these weird Amityville things? And I'm guessing he's not making them up. It's just like, just Amityville seems to have just,
So
how many are there?
there's
Loads.
around about 55, 60 of them, something in that
Wow.
region. Yeah, because released this year there was a couple. There was Amityville Karen. I
Saw
know.
that one. Yeah.
Um, Amityville Apartment is the latest one released. That's now on Amazon, and Amazon seems to be a deathbed for these films where they can't even get on Tubi. Thing with Amityville Apartment as well, it has 9 different directors.
And this is a feature
Not
film,
one,
not
not
an
two.
anthology type thing. Not a
It's a feature film. It's not a portmanteau film. It's not one where it contains like 5, 6 different segments. It's not a VHS or any ABCs of horror or anything like that with 24, 26 different segments. It's
yeah.
one film with 9 directors.
That's a bad sign, isn't it?
Um, it definitely is. But yeah, Amazon seem to be putting them to the forefront. Netflix, not so much. Tubi obviously is a dumping ground just for anything.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just when you watch a film and then they just suggest, oh, watch this one. And then I'll look at it and go, why not? So a few of these films that I've got on my list that I've seen, you'll have never heard of because they just throw them up on Amazon. I'm going, why not? I'll just watch this. Like, for
Okay.
example, One of the films on my list is an animated film which didn't even have a letterboxd or an IMDb page.
That's the downside to the letterbox, isn't it? Not all films are on there. Most of them are, I think, but now and again you'll
Yeah,
put one in, you're like, that's not even on there.
but you would expect it to have an IMDb page,
You
but it
really
didn't
would.
even have an IM. You did. It didn't even have an IMDb page yet. It was actually watchable on Amazon.
Has it not had a title
So
change? Because I found that sometimes.
nope,
No, that's weird.
no.
That's
Trying
definitely a
to
bad
find
sign.
information on trying to find information on the film itself was horribly hard. But
Wow.
I did manage to find it, but yeah, it didn't have an IMDb page.
Well, let's crack on with your list because you've got 18. I've got like half a dozen or so. So, with how, over to you. Here we go.
You did on my end.
Back now. Yep. So yeah, let's crack on. What have you seen? What have you watched?
So well, what about start with the one that we're both seeing, Sinners?
Yes, I like Sinners. I nearly went to see Drop because I saw a trailer for Drop, and I'm like, that's kind of my sort of film. And then we had our two free cinema tickets for the month through Sky, and we were very close to seeing Drop. But then I went through this phase where every podcast I was listening to and all the news articles were going on about Sinners. It's really good. It's really good. It's real. I'm like, do you know what? Let's go watch Sinners. I went into it knowing what sort of film it was. Annette didn't. She went into it not knowing anything about the film whatsoever. So when it flips and vampires are in, that's no spoiler for that. But she's like, "Whoa!" She had no clue that it was in fact a vampire movie. But a clever film. I've seen some people going, "Oh, it's not original," and I'm like, "Well, it is original. You can obviously compare it to From Dusk Till Dawn, which was like the mid '90s. But other than that, I would hardly say Sinners is a remake or anything from an existing IP, and it is an original film. But you still get people moaning about that one. But I was really happy to see how much money that damn thing's taking. I think it's refreshing.
Yeah,
It's I think the one
it's it's
there's
made a lot of money actually,
it's
Sinners,
made
which
a
has surprised me
fortune.
on how.
It's made a fortune. And then obviously the thing is though, it's like, are the studios going to look at it and go, people want more original takes on genres? Or are they going to look at it and go, the public wants more vampire movies, let's make more vampire movies? I guess time will tell which way the studios go. I'm guessing they'll probably go the latter because a lot of the studios ain't too smart nowadays. But, what were your
Yeah,
thoughts?
but um, but with Ryan Coogler's name attached to it, I think that's where it might have a big gravitas to it.
Yeah.
So when a director does something original where it has actually hit really well with the audience, then that director I'll have a lot more impetus to be able to get his projects off the starting block rather than just. Well, I'm hoping that Ryan Coogler doesn't fall down the trap and does a live action Disney film because then he'll obviously tarnish his name. And I hope he
Yeah.
just sticks to what he does best, which is original stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing he'll do
But
another
yeah,
Black Panther movie at some point. But other than that, I would like to see him do a one for them, one for him type thing. What's interesting about Sinners, though, he will own the rights to that film in 25 years, won't he? That's part of his contract, which is pretty clever. I've not heard of that being done before, but
not director then on that front.
mm,
So, but yeah, for me with Sinners, I did see her on Twitter that it was a sort of, sorry, on Blue Sky, that it's sort of like a confident mashup of southern western, sort of like a western set in the south of America, and a vampire film. So
yeah.
he felt like it was confident enough to be able to take its time with the start of the film being very slow and being sort of like understandable, and you're setting the scene with the characters, and then decide to go all hell's loose with the vampire element of the film in the last
Mhm.
like latter half of the movie. So it was confident enough to do that. My sort of like biggest gripe or slight biggest problem with it, at times it felt like a missing episode from Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it felt more TV in that instance. Like the look, there is a stylish look to it, but it felt like it was because there is three Tales from the Crypt movies. There's Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. There's
Hmm.
Bordello of Blood, and there's the one that never made it over here, which is Ritual. Tales from the Crypt Ritual. Um, it felt like the fourth film in the Tales from the Crypt series. So if this had the Tales from the Crypt name attached to it, Tales from the Crypt Sinners, it would fit right into place with it. But it is a bit of a gripe. But considering I do like Demon Knight and Bordello of Blood, I've not seen Ritual. It's sort of still a little bit of a positive thing for me.
Yeah.
But it just like at times, I think that was the thing that was taking me a little bit out of the film, and the fact that it did feel like a missing episode of Tales from the Crypt.
I think the one thing that threw me, and I get why Ryan did that, is there's a music scene in it, which then brings in elements that are set way after the film is set, sort of things, and that threw me a little bit. I get why he did it, and it was very, very clever. But I'm like, eh? And I could see people in the audience going, "What?" because he didn't sit and think about that part. So that was a stylish little touch. But overall, I thought the film was really, really good. It was just it's nice to go watch a film that isn't a sequel or a remake and I know there's tons of original films, so I'm not one of them that's going, Hollywood just does remakes. But it's not often I'll go to the cinema to watch a fresh film. Usually it is like a Mission Impossible or a Lilo and Stitch or something, both films which unfortunately I've not managed to watch yet because I've been busy this week, but it was good. The music's great. So that was like an extra character in the movie. I
Yeah,
then picked up the soundtrack, which works better in the film, but still kind of works pretty good as a standalone. But I enjoyed it, and
yeah.
I am glad to see
I'll
it
get a
making cash.
ditto. I'll get onto Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible very soon because I have actually seen both of those
Yep,
too. So I'll get onto them. Just throwing a couple of quick films out there. Then Hell of a Summer, which is an old school sort of like 1980s teen slasher film, very much akin to the Friday the 13th films. A group of kids have been told to be camp counselors at this camp. And when they arrive, none of the children or whatever have arrived, and there's a serial killer on the loose. It's got one of the people from Strange Things, which they dropped the new Stranger Things trailer
they did.
early hours of the morning, revealed the release date, November 27th is part one. Part two is Christmas Eve. The finale is New Year's Eve
Yep.
for Stranger Things. But yeah, it's got one of the actors from that. It's generic beyond generic. It's like you can literally you watch the film and go, that's taken from that Friday the 13th. That's taken from that Friday the 13th. It's a major copycat movie. The annoyance part of it as well is none of the characters are likable, which is frustrating because when
Right.
you've got I don't mind these slasher films set in the summer camp, but when you've got
No.
them with very unlikable characters, one or two is okay, but not the entire cast.
Okay.
So it's just a throwaway movie. Night of the Werewolves, which there's somebody who I follow on TikTok who is a horror content creator and he reviews horror films and whatever. And every now and again, people will challenge him to watch a film. They'll challenge him in his comments to watch a film. And so I challenged him to watch a film called Scissors, which is on Tubi, which is a deplorable film. And so his challenge back to us was to watch a film called Night of the Werewolves. It's an anthology film that's a very, very, very low budget anthology film about werewolves. It's abysmal. It's
Right.
beyond abysmal. It's not even entertainingly abysmal. I just, in my little pithy review on Blue Sky, I just went, no one involved knows how to act, produce, direct, or even create something that might be deemed watchable.
Ouch.
So it's that bad. So
That's
I think
you're not going to
we
end up on
both
the
matched
poster.
each other.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
I
Not
think
that
we
one.
both matched each other with how bad a film could be. So he watched Scissors, which I already had seen,
Is
and
that
he
an
watched
older
Night of
film?
the Werewolves, which no came out this year.
Right.
Scissors.
Must just be another film called Scissors or something that I've seen decades ago. So.
Yeah, it's a bad film, Scissors. So if you want to watch, if you're looking for a couple of films to create a worst films of the year list,
Yeah.
watch Scissors and watch Night
No,
of the Werewolves.
I don't need to do lists like that. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. And then I watched a small little film called Distort, which is an anthology film. It's a found footage film, which is not bad actually.
Okay.
It's not a bad found footage film about somebody trying to find they discover videotapes with music sort of like interleaved into the horror film. But it's not bad. It's I think that one's on Prime
Yeah.
to watch. And then a film called Project MKHEXE or Project MKHEX,
Okay.
which again is it's a found footage film about somebody's brother who dies, and when he looks through all again the videotapes, discovers that he was looking for this very interesting project that the government were creating to be able to possess or take over human beings. It's got a good premise. It squanders its premise, unfortunately. I was looking for something that well would be interesting, but there is a lot of murky camera footage and distortion in it, like the fact that it uses a lot of where, like for example, if you were rewinding a videotape, the
Yeah.
kind of effect that you used to get when you used to rewind a videotape, the distortion on the screens and stuff like that, and the artifacts and the breaking up of characters and things, it uses a lot of that to sort of like add a lot of tension to it, but it doesn't work, which is
Awesome.
annoying. And then I've seen the latest Fear Street film, Fear Street
Okay.
Prom Queen. It's
That's
on
Netflix, isn't it?
Netflix.
Yeah.
It's the worst of the four. Um,
You're not helping me
yeah,
recommendation list here. There's nothing been written down in it other than landmarks and the French group that you mentioned. Can't read my own writing there.
probably it's probably going to be when we get onto the big films. I'm just throwing the small films out there. Yeah, Fear Street Prom Queen is it's the worst out of the four. It's just set at prom. Again, the slasher is about killing people at prom, and they've got to find out who the killer is. It's predictable beyond predictable. It doesn't do anything different that we haven't seen before. The characters are very unlikable. Again, it uses that unlikable character trope, which doesn't work. It decides to twist itself in the last 20 minutes because it's not confident enough with the first hour and 10 minutes that it's done. So to extend its runtime, it decides to throw in a twist, which is predictable beyond predictable. You can guess it from a million miles away. There's a couple of decent kills in it, including one kill which involves a power saw in somebody's face.
Nice. Yeah.
But that's about it.
What's your take on the whole
Um,
Fear Street thing overall from somebody, me, who's not seen any of them? Is it worth checking out or it's like me, you know?
First three, yes,
Right.
definitely watch the first three. They have sort of like an interleaving woven storyline between all three, so they have a
Mm.
connection. But the way they've gone and done it is, you would think that the third part would be the one that's set in the past and then the lead up to it. The third part is actually set in the past, so that it's the end part of it, but they go back, so it acts like a
Right.
prequel slash sequel. So because there's part of the film which is a prequel and part of the film which is a sequel to the one two prior to it. But I do recommend them. They are
Okay.
really good.
Yeah.
Fourth one, not so much. Live Stream, which is again another found footage horror movie,
You do love your
which
found
is
footage, don't
I
you?
do. There's a streaming horror platform called Found, which all they show is found footage. And live stream is about a group of influencers who go to this really gorgeous, not even a cabin in the woods, this house in the middle of nowhere, just to sort of like enjoy themselves. And then something bad happens. Not a serial killer, just something bad happens. Um, Again, it features a group of absolute morons who you wouldn't even follow on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or whatever. They are those kind of influencers which are just there for the money. They're not interested in doing anything else.
Mm.
They're just going, look at me, I'm gorgeous. I can sing, I can dance, I can do all of this, and you've got very little talent in you. So everybody involved in the film is just really agonizingly annoying. So it's forgettable. And then I watched Havoc.
I watch Havoc. Yeah, I've seen Havoc. Yeah.
So we've actually another one that both of us have seen.
I was more excited to watch Havoc than I was after I'd watched Havoc. I think the action scenes
Yes.
were impressive. I always get the Gareths mixed up. It's Gareth Evans, isn't it? Not Gareth Edwards. So I
Mhm.
like what Gareth Evans does. I love the first season of Gangs of London. Since then, the show's progressively got worse. I don't know if Gareth's like, I'll be over here. You guys make the show. and just let me know when it's done. I like Tom Hardy in the role. I don't know. It's probably one of those films that I will go back and rewatch in like 6 months and just put it on, and then that's when I'll decide whether I liked it or not. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah.
can't fault the action scenes were pretty incredible.
I'm guessing you'll agree with the first line that I put in my Blue Sky review of it, and I just said the perfect example of a surface level action film.
Yeah,
It
yep,
is all surface level, that film. Like it's flashy up front, and know that it's flashy up front. The set
hmm
pieces are bombastic and over the top, like extremely over the top. The amount of
yeah,
bullets that they must have used, instead of having a budget to shoot the film, they had like a 60,000 bullet budget where they were told to use every single bullet they were given. And people do not get shot once, they get shot about 50 times.
yeah. I mean, that's just like wasted
So
bullets, that isn't it? It's like if you're going to be in that world, just conserve your bullets because you never know when you need them.
And what I find interesting is the fact that it's not a superhero film, yet it does actually take those 50 plus bullets to kill people.
Yeah,
Like for example, in the shootout near to the end of the film, one of the characters, he gets shot so many times, yet he's still standing there moving around, even though
yeah.
he's getting shot, not just moving around from the bullets, just moving around as to try and dive away from even more bullets entering his
Yep.
body.
And I don't know how you'd be. I don't know
So
what you'd be like in that world, but I think if I sprain an ankle, I'm like, all right, I'm out. Just I'm done. I'm just gonna go get this ankle looked at. I am not taking about
yeah,
50 bullets in my body and still functioning in any way, shape, or form.
So yeah, I did see it on the surface. It's a very flashy, visceral, and explosive action film. Below the surface, though, there is very little else apart from basic level acting and a very forgettable story.
Yeah. The action is the
Pretty,
star,
uh,
isn't it? I mean, obviously Tom Hardy's on the poster and he's really good in it, but
yeah.
he doesn't need to do a lot. A bit like Mad Max Fury Road, he didn't really need to do a lot in that. It was everything that surrounded him that made you come out of that film going, "Wow, that was impressive action."
But that I think that was intended
Mm,
with Mad Max Fury Road because of how much of a simple character Max was.
yeah,
There on a deep, it's wasted time digging deep below the surface of a character who was just really simple.
yeah,
Because if you are, you're going to add something to him which wouldn't fit. So Max as a character wasn't deep.
no,
There was nobody that was deep on any kind of level within Havoc. Like if they had a backstory, Gareth Evans didn't care what
no,
that backstory was. He was just creating characters so there would be bullet sponges. That's pretty much it.
yep.
That was probably the direction he was given. My guess is when he was given the script, he just saw like people dying on every single page, and that he had an increasing amount of bullets that they were dying for from every single page, and that was it. So to give him props, he knows how to direct action set pieces.
Oh God, yeah, it's definitely a film. If you want action sequences, watch it. But if you want some characters and some development, then you're not going to find it in that. But you're going to get some really cool fight scenes and gun fu and all that sort of stuff. You're going to see more bullet casings probably in that than a John Wick movie. Just maybe not,
Yeah.
but it is. I enjoyed it. I think for a Netflix movie, I think it's fine. You put it on, you watch on your TV, you scroll on to something else once it's finished. But I don't know if you go to the cinema to watch that and you come out. Are you coming out going, kind of wish I hadn't have spent my £10 or whatever on a cinema ticket?
Whereas if you have you seen the trailer for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein?
Watched it this morning because I'm like, I need to watch that because I'm pretty sure you'll mention it. That looks gorgeous, and I don't know how I feel about that film going to streaming. It kind of that would
Yes,
look
that
amazing on a big screen, as most Del Toro things
that
do.
was my thought.
Yeah.
Considering that my cinema, surprisingly, a lot of cinemas are closing currently, which is no surprise anyway. But my cinema on the opposite end of the scale has just had a massive refit.
Right.
So it was taken over by another company called Omniplex, which is an Irish company, and they seem to be investing in the cinemas rather than backing away from them. And
Mm.
so my cinemas, Omniplex, have what are called Max screens rather than IMAX screens. So they're huge, massive screens with sofas in them, and you can take food in those screens. So they don't have as many seats in them,
Yeah.
but they are like extremely comfortable screens. Yes, the tickets are slightly more expensive, but they're what you call the treat ones. And I was watching the trailer for Frankenstein and thinking, I would absolutely love it if this film was released in that kind of format, so I
Yeah,
could sit back in the comfort of like a lazy settee kind of thing, being able to bring maybe some food in with me and just watch this film with only like 60 people in the same screen as us. It's
yeah,
like I'm going to like a VIP screening of the film because it looks absolutely beautiful. Not the two Guillermo del Toro's home, because every single one of these films look
yeah,
gorgeous, but this looks like going from scenes of white of the snowy areas to one scene where it's just absolute red with one of the characters in it. It was just the juxtaposition between those two colors. You're just looking at God. I wish I could see this on the biggest screen possible.
yeah,
It looks beautiful. I cannot wait for it. It was on pretty much at the top of my list anyway.
yeah.
But you look at Frankenstein and think that's a cinema movie. You look at Havoc and go, well, I used to rent this kind of thing from Blockbuster for
Yeah,
Global back in
exactly.
the day. So,
It's just weird that
so
we
yeah,
live. It's weird that we live in this world where Scorsese, David Fincher, Del Toro all have films that are going straight to TV, and it's just like, what? It's just it still boggles my brain how the media industry has got to that point. Makes me sad, but you know,
yeah, it does. And then the last of the throwaway films, I've made it a double bill, is because I watched another one of those films that are in the that's taken the Mickey
like
Mouse
the
IP.
yeah Mickey Mouse, Bambi, Peter Pan type thing.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've watched two of those films, and they both feature Mickey Mouse.
Wow.
So Mouseboat Massacre and Screenboat. So Mouseboat Massacre is the one I've just not long recently watched. It's another typical one of those films where it centers around a group of people. In this case, here, somebody who's got a drug addiction. She's accosted by her parents to take her in the middle of nowhere. However, finds out that this videotape released this demonic killer mouse to sort of like kill people. And so she's not believed in because the fact that they think that the drugs is the thing that's making her see this mouse, when in fact it is actually a mouse that kills people. the
I can't
only
watch them.
connection it has to the only connection it has to Mickey Mouse is the fact that it uses the Steamboat Willie IP in some of the videotape bit, and that's it. It's it's
No,
terrible.
no, can't watch it.
And then and then Screenboat is the one where David Howard Thornton plays the
Yeah,
Mickey Mouse character. Predominantly, most of it's set on a huge, massive ferry boat. It's better than Mouseboat Massacre. It's better than Piglet. It's better than a few of these ones, but it's still
crap.
very low quality kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I still think that the best ones, and this is damning with fee and praise, is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2
Yeah.
and Peter Pan Neverland Nightmares. Those two are the best two. Those two barely scrape the bottom of a three kind of stuff because they're watchable. The rest of them are being unwatchable. There's a couple of decent kills in Screenboat, but it's way too long. It's way, way, way too long,
How
and the
long is it
effects are
then,
atrocious.
roughly?
It's just shy of 2 hours.
Yeah, that's too long for that sort of movie, isn't it? That sort of movie needs to be like 85 minutes at best.
Yeah, it's absolute throwaway trash. And there's another couple to come. There is I Love Willie or I Heart Willie, which is out at the end of June. It's released in Pakistan and India already,
Okay.
but it's out in June over here. And then there's Bambi, The Reckoning,
Hmm.
which is out in June. And then there's Pinocchio Unstrung to come. I think it's in August or September when that one's coming out. That's getting a theatrical release.
Wow. Okay.
And then there's the third Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And then there's the Poohniverse United, which comes out next year, around about the same time as Terrifier 4, which is surprising. I'm wearing a Terrifier
You are?
t-shirt.
Yes.
Which,
Yes. I was MCM
yeah,
Comic Con. There was somebody going around dressed as Art the
yeah,
Clown, and a lot of people were looking really freaked out at this tall guy wearing an Art the Clown, full on
yeah,
like a decent costume. So we've been through a list of films that don't sound very appealing, to be fair.
yep.
Have you got some good ones? And is Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch on that list?
Well, the way I do it is I always split my list between the quick ones and the main ones. So the main ones are the bigger films that people look at. They are the bigger ones. Every now and again, I might throw a little tiny film into that list because to me it's deemed as a big film.
Yeah.
But they're normally the big kind of releases, and then the small ones are just like the throwaway stuff. the stuff. That's not to say that none of the throwaway stuff is going to be bad. It's
Mhm.
just unfortunately I've not had the best month in
No.
picking the smaller films. So I can kick things off with Until Dawn because Until
Ooh,
Dawn obviously is deemed as one of the bigger films, even though now it's available on you can actually watch it digitally at home.
it's
So
crazy
it didn't
that,
have
and it's
very.
crazy.
I think the way they look at it now is if the film doesn't do well in its first week, you know that it's going to be they can get it on streaming a lot quicker rather than just it languishing there. People forget about the film and release it 6 months later.
Yeah.
I think that's fine to do it that way. I think it's not fine if the film itself is gangbusters at the cinema and then they release it on digital like a month later, a month and
Yeah.
a half later. Those are the films that they should release 6 months later. So in the case of Until Dawn, I knew it wasn't going to do very well at the box office when my cinema only had one showing of it at
Okay.
8:30 at night. So it's based on the video game.
Hmm.
If you've played the video game, I
I
don't know
have
if you
not.
have.
Nope.
Until Dawn as a video game, it's one of those. It sort of like takes the idea of a choose your own adventure situation and then modernizes it. So you've got a group of characters. Each one could potentially die in the game, and depending on what you actually do, your outcome at the end of the game could be fully effective. So you might have no survivors to the point where you've managed to save everybody. So it is one of those kind of games. And Until Dawn takes the premise, but not the full idea of it. So it uses the creator of the game. He's a writer and a producer on the film. And so the way it works is that these group of teenagers stumble upon this area which repeats itself every 24 hours. And in that 24 hours, they die.
Okay.
And so they've got to figure out what's causing them to be killed. There's a killer, quotes, going around. And so they've got to figure out how to stop this killer. But they die every 24 hours up to a certain point. And then once to reach that certain point, that's it. Once they die, they're dead.
Okay.
And so it takes that idea. It's got a good idea. It uses sort of like a Groundhog Day, Happy Death Day to you kind of idea, but it adds its own little sort of like video game twist to it. It's dark, it's bleak. There is a few gory scenes in it. It's fine. It gets muddled with itself a little bit too many times when it overcomplicates things. But as a video game horror movie, it's not bad. It's one of the better
No.
ones. In my opinion, it's sort of like on the quality of the Silent Hill film. So
All
the
right. Okay.
first one,
I like the first one. Yeah.
don't like the second one. Revelations is terrible. It's the film where you watch it and you think, is Sean Bean going to die? And he doesn't.
Really?
In this,
Wow. That would mess with people's brains. You're like, what?
he doesn't die in Silent Hill Revelations, but that's the best thing about that film.
With Until Dawn, does it help if you've played the video game, or and does it
No,
hinder you if you haven't played it?
no.
Right.
So it's got a few elements from the video game in it, which I'll not say what they are, just in case you decide to want to play the video game, because I do recommend playing the video game. The video game is really good. It was released on PS4 and then a remaster was done on PS5. Don't play the
Right.
remaster, it's not worth it. Just
Okay.
get the PS4 version. But I do recommend playing it because it's got an interesting story. It's really well created. It's got Hayden Panettiere in it.
Hmm.
So it's got so yeah, it's a really good game. The film is fine.
Right.
It's fine.
Okay.
Thunderbolts,
Yeah.
which is the new Marvel film.
AKA
Thunderbolts
the new
Asterisk,
Avengers. Weird,
which
weird advertising
idiots can
thing, but yeah.
considering that that's the last thing that you see at the end of the film before it gets to the credits.
Hmm.
You see the new Avengers, so they gave away the little reveal.
It is.
Marvel before idiots.
It's weird. It's like,
Um, I don't know if they did it to trick people in thinking that they've released two Marvel films, or they just thought people are dumb enough to actually just not know that this is the new Avengers because they're not paying attention to the final card at the end.
I think it was designed to scoop up anybody who hadn't gone to see it. They were like, Thunderbolts, nah. Oh, new Avengers. Didn't know it was a new Avengers movie. I'll go watch it. But it's just a
Yeah,
weird. They're going to confuse the audience because, yeah, title changes are never a good thing.
it's not bad. It's one of the better ones as of late Marvel films, in my opinion. It still suffers from the same kind of Marvel problems and the fact that it overcomplicates itself. Um, it doesn't have much depth to it. that it's pretty much again surface level kind of fair.
Okay.
But the Thunderbolts characters are fine. The bad guy, there's a little bit more depth to him. There's a better reason behind the bad guy as to why he's doing what he's doing. And instead of using the it's the end of the world plot, which they do throw that
Yeah.
into it, they have a little bit more attached to that. So they go, oh, well, we'll have an asterisk beside of the end of the world rather than just let's destroy the end of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's watchable. It's one of
Okay.
the better watchable Marvel films as of late,
Better than Captain America: Brave New World, which I have not yet seen, but
it, which is a really bad film,
that's a yes. It's better than that.
um,
Yep.
which is on Disney Plus now.
Wow.
So yeah, really did not like that film. And then Drop, which I have seen Drop,
Yeah.
which Christopher Landon's film. He
Hmm.
stepped away from doing more Happy Death Days and all that kind of stuff to do Drop. It's a very straightforward thriller. It's an old-fashioned, old-school thriller where you're just sitting there going, "I wonder what's going to happen next. What's the twists and turns and stuff like that." He adds a tiny little bit of his humor, but not to the point where you've seen it in previous
Okay.
London films.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a old school one watch kind of thriller. It reminds you of when M. Night Shyamalan's at his best,
Right.
that kind of level.
Yeah.
So it's once you know what happens in the films and the twists, then that's it. Watching it again, I don't think it would have the impact as it is when you watch it first time, but it's a good one watch thriller.
I mean, did the trailer give away the twist? Because the trailer starts off as a bit of a rom-commy type, people on a date, and then we obviously get to the oh, if you need to do ABC or we're going to kill you type plot gets set up in the trailer. Is that's not giving anything? There's still more to come.
There is more to it than just that, but
Right.
that's the crux of it. That's about 75% of it.
Yeah.
There is the trailer, but there is a tiny little bit more
Okay.
to it than
I
that.
do want to watch it.
But
Looks good.
yeah, I recommend it as a first watch.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
I don't see you going, I'm going out buy the DVD and Blu-ray so I can watch
Yeah,
this
I need the
again.
Blu-ray. I need to watch this every 6 months. Yeah.
Then the latest Final Destination film, Final Destination Bloodlines, the sixth in the series.
Hmm.
15-year gap between the last one and this one. So a bit of a huge, massive gap. It was interesting that they decided to come back to it, considering it was technically Tony Todd's last film.
Yeah.
The only reason why I say technically, there is another Tony Todd film to be released. Don't know when it'll get a UK release. It's called Cutler's Club.
Okay.
It was a film that was made years and years ago, but completely forgotten about. It's a low budget horror film,
Right.
and that technically is going to be his last
That's his
release. But
last
this is,
appearance, but Bloodlines is his last, the one that he shot last.
yes.
Right. Yeah.
And Final Destination Bloodlines is one of the best Final
Okay.
Destination films. I think the first one's still the best,
Yeah.
for good reasons. But this sort of like goes back to what made the first one good. It takes the idea of just centered around one family, hence the bloodlines kind of thing,
Hmm.
and sort of like finding out why death is going after them, because it follows the same blueprint. Death attaches itself to a group of people and kills them off in the order where somebody saw the way they're going to die.
Yeah.
And in this case here, you'll have in the trailer itself, you'll have seen a huge, massive restaurant at the top of a massive spire
Hmm.
kind of construction. And people die supposedly in the order they die from that restaurant.
Yeah.
But it has a few little caveats thrown in. It does what Final Destination does best. Some of the kills are very ingenious. There's some
Hmm.
behind the scenes footage in regards to a couple of the kills, which is interesting to see how they're done. They're gory. They're very, very over the top kills, and so it follows that kind of blueprint. But what it does with Bloodlines that was missing in a couple of the previous ones is there's an attachment to some of the people within inside the film because it is centered around a family. There is more attachment there than it is if it's just centered around a group of strangers or a group of friends again. So it was nice that it actually did that. So it adds a little bit more impact when something bad happens to one of them.
Yeah.
And pretty much everybody in the film is likable enough.
Okay.
So when something does bad happen to them, you actually feel sorry for the lead role, or you feel sorry for the rest of the family that's involved. Going, it's not fair that this is happening to them.
Yeah, because a lot of the time in
So
slasher movies, you're like, oh, thank God they've been killed. They were annoying me. Next. So
yeah,
it's with the
because
original trailer that came out, the guy with the piercings and the extractor fan and stuff. Is that a scene within the movie, or was that just done as so that is within the film itself?
yeah,
Right.
it's within the film itself. And if you've got Pearsons and stuff like that, hello,
Yeah.
um, it can look really bad. But would it put you off? Nope.
No.
I would still get more
You still get
if
them.
I wanted to get more. But yeah, it obviously elaborates on it, so it goes a little bit more than what you do see in the trailer or that specific thing that they released, the vignette that they released for it.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a little bit more to it than that, but yeah, it still wouldn't put me off. It's
No.
just that, again, watching that trailer or watching the film, the thing I had in regards to that scene there was that's not how you pierce somebody's tongue.
Yeah.
You don't go from below then up, you go downwards because that's the way my tongue was done. You get a little tweezer thing, it grabs hold of your tongue, there's two little holes, and the spike goes down through the tongue, not upwards through the tongue. So it was just again when I watched the film, I was like, "No, you don't do it that way, you idiot!"
Hollywood. Hollywood for you. It just makes its own rules.
Exactly. And then the last couple of main big films that I've got is two biggies:
Hmm.
Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
Lilo and Stitch, I knew it was going to make all the money because it's just that sort of film. The trailer, I think, worked. It just looks like a fun, smile on your face type movie. Mission Impossible,
Yeah.
I really do want to watch it. The thing that's not made me rush off super fast, it's like 3 hours. It's like, can we start making films a little bit shorter, please? For the love of God. I don't like sitting in a cinema auditorium for that length of time because usually there's some other idiot in the flaming auditorium that annoys me, or they're on the phones and stuff. So make film shorter. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts? Let's go Lilo first. Lilo and Stitch.
So this might actually sum up my thoughts, just from the first line that I stuck in my Blue Sky review. I don't know if you saw it. So we know that Ohana means family.
Hmm.
So I did say Ohana might mean family, but this 2025 live action update is more like Mia Ole, pointless.
Oh no.
See, I thought that was a smart
It is
opening, just
smart.
using that
Yeah,
instead.
yeah.
So it's not as bad as a lot of people have made it out to actually be, and it's not as bad as Snow White because I think Snow White is probably the worst out of all of these live
Wow.
action CGI updated versions of them.
Yeah.
The Lion King one, it has no depth to it, but it's not atrociously bad. Mufasa, I have not yet seen. Snow White is it's just really bad. It's
Gross.
really it's unforgettable, that film. But the thing with Lilo and Stitch is it still suffers from those same kind of problems in the fact that what the hell is the point of these films?
Money.
The original 2002 animated feature is a weird, strange Disney movie. It's back when Disney was still experimenting with their films and they were still releasing some kind of weirdness in their movies before playing it extremely safe. And so, yeah, Stitch is just a psychopath. He's like a gremlin on steroids.
Yeah.
In this, he's just more created so they could release fluffy teddy bears
Yeah,
and
of course. Yeah,
talking
yeah.
toys and
Yep.
stuff like that. Um, they've thought by humanizing it, they would get the director of Marcel the Shell with Shoes on to
Mhm.
direct the film. And he centers the film more around Lilo and her sister.
Right.
So the sister has some kind of presence within inside the animated feature, but not as much. Whereas in this one, they're front and center. The sister's sort of like relationship, considering there is no other family in the background, it's all about how the older sister looks after the younger sister. And then they throw the Stitch element within inside it. So we have at the start, Stitch is ostracized. He's about to be killed, and he escapes from where he's at. His prison, crash lands on Earth, sort of like acts like a dog, picked up by Lilo, and hijinks happens. And so that's pretty much to be a storyline. But a lot of the film is centered around the two sisters' relationship.
Okay.
Um, and it just doesn't add anything to it. You would think that would add more depth, more heart to it, but it doesn't. It then when the hijinks happens, they're completely forgettable. Younger audiences who've never seen the animated version of Lilo and Stitch will love it
Yeah.
because it is a manic, over the top CGI'd gremlin slash dog slash cat
Hmm.
kind of creature, and they'll want to buy the toy. But people who have any kind of memory of the animated 2002 Lilo Stitch film will just look at this and go, cash grab. That's all they'll look
Yeah.
at.
I think it's a cash grab to make lots of money, which it has made lots of money and is doing really well. It's also a cash grab to make people go out and buy Stitch fluffy toy. I bought one last weekend at MCM Comic Con. I bought a Stitch plushie, 15 quid. I'm like, brilliant. Stitch merch is huge. And yeah, I think that's probably the main reason why they did it. But so do you not come out of that film going, that was fun, forgettable, but I've had a few laughs and I've smiled? No, not so much.
No, because
Oh,
the difference though with you is the fact that you've not seen this version.
right.
You'll have bought it off the back of you knowing the animated
Yeah.
feature.
Yeah.
You haven't bought that plushie off the back that you've seen both.
No.
Like
So,
you watch the live action one and go, oh, I want to buy it because the live action one's really good.
hmm.
I think if you had saw the live action one, you'd still would have bought it based off your memories of the
The
2002
animated.
animated feature.
Yeah.
It's just that audience who's not seen that version, they're buying the toys based off this live action one. Whereas, in fact, if they'll have seen the original first, they would have loved it first and would have gone with that kind of design rather than just falling in love with this one because it's a cynical, pointless cash grab of a film. It has no heart to it. Whatever heart it was bringing to the forefront, it loses it because it is that cynical kind of movie. And I think anybody who's seen the original will feel exactly the same. But if it is that you're only going in it from this point of view and seeing in this one, you will watch it and go, that was enjoyable. So it's dependent on if you've seen the original or not.
I bought two plushies last weekend. One was Stitch, the other one was a Totoro. I saw the Totoro, I'm like, gotta have a Totoro. So that was 25 quid, and I was happy with paying a little bit more for a Totoro than
Yeah.
Stitch. So
Of,
I wish it
of,
was here so I could show you, but it's downstairs, so I'll show you next time. But can't go wrong with a
of
Totoro.
course, because the smartest thing with Studio Ghibli is they released two technical Totoro movies. There is My Neighbor Totoro and there's Me and the Cat Bus, which you can only watch at Studio Ghibli Land in Japan.
Wow.
So there is that, which I've seen a YouTube video of somebody recording it, and so I've technically seen it, but I
Mm.
want to see it firsthand myself. So there is that, but Studio Ghibli didn't go out of the way and release five different Totoro films to
No.
milk the franchise. They released one film because the Me and the Cat Bus is only a short, and then they heavily relied on people to see that film to go out and buy the merchandise. So they released the merchandise alongside that film.
Yep.
That's how you do it. You don't
Yep.
do it and release an original film 15 years later, hopefully, or 20 years later, hoping people have forgotten about it and release a live action version of it so they can release more merch. Don't do that. Just reissue the original
Yeah.
animated film on this big screen. Kids will go and see it and go, I want a Stitch.
And that works. It's like Disney re-released Revenge of the Sith, and that's made a fortune. And it's like the film's there, just put it back in theaters, and it makes a ton of money. So I think that I do miss the Disney Vault days when a film that you hadn't seen for years came back out, and then everybody went mental and watched it, and then it went away again after like 100 days or whatever, and then they did it another 7 years later, and it made another fortune. I kind of miss that business model. Maybe that doesn't live in the day of streaming, but. It used to be a
Well,
good way to make lots of cash.
the cynicism with inside me is the fact that Disney didn't release the original Revenge of the Sith when it originally
No,
came out because they didn't have the rights to it
yeah,
then, and so
Fox.
they've
Yeah,
got the rights to it, and it's just so thought let's actually release it now. So
yeah,
that's the cynicistic person with inside me in regards to that. It
yeah,
was Fox. So, but this it's a Disney IP.
yeah.
Disney actually did the original. They released the original version, so they just went, let's remake it again. They need to stop, but they're not going to.
No,
They're
because it
going to
makes
milk
money.
it even more.
Makes money.
Exactly. And so, whatever the next thing is going to be, it's just they're getting all these really good directors, and in a way, they're tarnishing their career.
Yeah.
So it's not helping. Like, is people going to go to see the next film from the director of Marcel the Shell with Shoes on? No,
No. But let's go to one of
no,
my
no, he
favorite
is.
action stars, Mr. Tom Cruise. who's back with Christopher McQuarrie again for apparently the final Mission Impossible film. We shall see. Maybe it's the final one with Tom Cruise clinging onto airplanes and, you know, doing crazy stunts, which is amazing. I wouldn't do it, but I'm glad he does. What were your thoughts on Dead Reckoning Part Two, original title, but now it's the final Reckoning because they've done
Yeah,
that annoying thing.
I think again, not to toot my own horn in regards to my Blue Sky pithy reviews, but I think the first sentence perfectly describes my thoughts in regards to the final reckoning. I just said, brilliant set pieces, masks a slightly stodgy finale.
Yep. Is it the
The
same
per-
sort of thing to like Havoc? So we'd sort of said Havoc, great action
no,
scenes, not a lot to it. No?
no, because the annoying thing that this does is it has a lot to it in the first hour with no action scenes. There is a set piece in it, but the first hour has to does the most one of the most egregious things I hate in cinema and explains everything.
Mm,
So because it thinks that it's the final film, air quotes, it needs to explain everything that's happened to Ethan from minute one to minute now,
right.
and it uses an hour of the film to do that. And it's just not a good use of time. That's one of the reasons why, again, the film itself should not have been 3 hours long. It uses the first, I would say, a third to just go into
Previously on Mission Impossible. Yeah.
yeah, go into exposition after exposition. It's really frustrating. And I know a lot of people absolutely love the opening crawls of the Mission Impossible films, and obviously it's based on the TV series, so the TV series did it. That it shows you exactly what's going to happen in the episode or
I
in the
hate that.
film
I hate it.
in a fast cut. I hate it.
I hate it.
I, I
Yeah.
I hope other films do never use it because I
Mm.
hope it dies with the Mission Impossible series or only stays with it. I hope that they have got like a contract in regards to saying that no other company or film can use it
So
and
would
that
you
only Mission
recommend,
Impossible
you know,
can.
when the music kicks in, that you just sort of put your head down until the theme music's
Yeah,
done? Right. Okay. I'll do that.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just find it annoying.
It's like,
But
what's the
then
point? I'm
long
about to watch the movie. Stop showing me bits.
exactly
That's I hate it when films do they'll show you like the end of a film and then go 12 hours earlier. It's like I hate that. That always niggles me.
the only time it works is if they do something different and tricks you.
Yeah.
So if the fact that you see the main character die at the end of the film, this is not to say this is what happens in Final
No, no,
Reckoning.
this is
It's
like
just
a
an
thing.
example of what a film.
Yeah.
But if a film goes, this is how I die, and then it goes back 24 hours, and then you see the stuff lead up to it, and then there's a but. So you didn't expect that. That's fine. But if it is going to show you what happens at the end of the film, goes back and then just does that, then that's really annoying.
Yeah, it is.
Um, but with Mission Impossible, this one, the annoying thing is it gets through that trailer bit and then it takes its time to go, well, this is what happened previously, and this is what Ethan did previously, and he did this done in this film, and he did that in this film, and he ran away from this film, and this is what happened when in the first one when he actually hung himself down above that laser field to try and hack the computer and did this. It does all that explanation. You're just going, I don't want to hear this. You
Mm.
could have just cut that down like 10 minutes and then just get on with the film. But
Or
like I
here's
said, it
here's
has a
a
set
thought: the
piece.
people that are watching like the eighth film in a series have already seen the other ones. Most of them should have.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll kind of know all. They won't remember everything because I don't. I don't remember everything from Dead Reckoning, to be fair. But they should know enough.
But then after that, that's when it gets into a Mission Impossible film.
Yeah.
It actually has the bombastic, huge, over the top set pieces. This, I think, probably is the best one and one of the best in the series is the submarine set piece,
Mm-hmm.
which according to Christopher McQuarrie, he absolutely loves shooting in water. He never shot in water before. Cruise actually sort of like tempted him to actually do it. And there are rules in the UK where you can only shoot 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours a day within water.
Okay.
So that was the reason why they didn't shoot that any of the water scenes in the UK in UK sound stages. They shot it in another country where they could get away with shooting in water for 8 hours a day plus, which is what they wanted to do. And Macquarie in an interview turned around and says he wants to shoot, and he's actually spoke to Cruise in regards to it, and he said, "Yes, I would love to do this." He wants to shoot a movie set entirely in water.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and that set piece is just brilliant in the way it's constructed, the way it's edited, the way it's acted, just everything in regards to that set piece is one of the best set pieces in a Mission Impossible film. Um, And I'm glad that it didn't go down the route of a Fast movie where it just like the set pieces are so over the top they become laughable that they end off in
Yeah.
space. Mission Impossible does not end off in space, which again is a good thing.
I,
Um,
I think the thing is with the Fast series compared to Mission Impossible, though, there's so much practical stunt work done in the Mission Impossible movies, and because you know that, it's more impressive. With the Fast stuff, you know that it's not Vin Diesel, jumping off a skyscraper or whatever. So it doesn't, you don't feel any threat or any like, oh my God, is he gonna get killed type thing when watching a Fast set piece. But I do when Tom Cruise is clinging to the side of a plane or whatever in a Mission Impossible movie, you're like, Jesus, what's wrong with you, man? I'm glad you're doing it, but seriously, calm
mhm.
down. You're gonna hurt yourself.
I think probably is the best way to describe it is a Mission Impossible film is like an old school, like an old school circus. Like you see the spectacle of the circus, and you
Yeah.
see all these acrobats flipping around and doing all of that kind of stuff. The Fast series is that old school circus, but helmed by magicians. It's like if they took the actors from Now You See Me and they
Yeah.
threw them with inside a circus and said, "Do your magic tricks," instead of the jumping off high heights and putting your head in a lion's mouth or jumping through fire or anything like that.
Hmm.
Whereas Tom Cruise is just going, "Here, take my flaming torch. This is how it's done."
Yeah.
Um, so again, I'm glad that it didn't go down that route. But as a Mission Impossible film, it's not the best. It's not the worst. But because of that hour is frustrating. And I'm glad that it pulls itself around from that first hour because if it's followed, I think if that hour went on a little bit longer, went on another 10, 15, maybe maximum 20 minutes longer, the
Hmm.
film itself will be even worse than it actually is. But because it stops pretty much at the hour mark and actually pulls itself around and stops with explaining everything, that it treats its audience as absolute dumbasses and just goes, "You're here to see spectacle. You're here to see, yes, there needs to have some character development with it, and we need to have a relationship between the team. We've already got that established anyway, but there needs to be that little bit more." That's what the Mission Impossible film is about, the spectacle with the characters interacting with each other and bonding with each other. That's when Mission Impossible is at its best, not explaining everything to everyone. So for 2 hours, it's a really good Mission Impossible film. For 3 hours, it's a good
Yeah.
Mission Impossible film.
It's like, you take Dead Reckoning Part One, and then this would have been Dead Reckoning Part Two. You've got near enough a 6 hour movie there. That's definitely longer than it needs to be, I would have thought.
Definitely.
But I am
And that's
looking
it.
forward to watching it at some point soon. Have you watched any TV? Have you watched The Last of Us? Because that's now finished its second season. It was fine.
Yeah,
I
the,
enjoyed it.
the the Last of Us season two is frustrated me more so than season one, just because the fact that I know what to expect. I think with season one, even though I've played both games, I still was surprised on some of the rallies that it actually followed.
Hmm.
With season two, it's sort of like I'm watching it going, I've experienced this before. I was getting that deja vu kind of experience it before situation. So I'm hoping that season two of season two
Yeah,
is actually
2.5.
better than yeah. But the worrying part is they haven't even shot
No.
part two of season two
It's
yet. It
easily
doesn't
2 years, isn't it, before we're getting at the
it doesn't go
earliest.
in, it doesn't go into production until early next year, and it's not
Really?
coming out until around about this time 2027.
Oh, that's horrendous. Yep. That's
So
I get why they do that sort of because it's so expensive to shoot, but am I going to get excited about waiting 2 years from now for it? No. No, I'm really
that's
not.
that's the problem with it. And the thing is, though, there is going to be supposedly a third bit,
Yeah.
another bit to it as well, because there is a lot with inside The Last of Us Part Two. Whereas with The Last of Us, they took The Last of Us and the DLC left behind. Last
Mm,
of Us Part Two does not have extra story DLC to it. It is just that game itself. But there is a lot in it, and where this ends is just getting to the halfway mark in the game.
right.
But the second game, is a lot longer than the first game because when you think you've hit the end point of the second game, there is still something else to come. And they could, in a way, do a 6 episode TV series based on the last bit
Yeah.
of the game. So it didn't hit me as much as season one did.
No, season one I really enjoyed. I'm like, that was a good season of a show. Season two was like, yeah, it was okay. What am I going to watch now? There was no, I mean, obviously the story bits in season two where you're like, wow, didn't see that coming. If you've obviously not played the game like I haven't, but overall it was fine. Too short. 7 episodes is not enough for
Yeah,
and 2 years to wait for the next one. It's the Stranger Things
yeah,
effect, isn't it? When Stranger Things comes back later this year, I can't remember the after stuff that's happened in the previous seasons, and I'm certainly not going to do a full rewatch on it before these new ones.
yeah.
Maybe they'll do an hour-long
The,
recap, like Mission
the
Impossible
thing
did.
with I would say season one of The Last of Us is like an A. Season two was
Yeah,
like a C plus.
yeah. So what's
That's
what's
the
the
way I
best
would do
film you've watched then? What if you were to recommend one or two films from your list?
it. Final Destination Bloodlines, definitely.
Hmm.
I recommend that. One film I forgot to mention was Clown in a Cornfield. It's yeah, it is exactly what it says on the tin.
It's about a
Psychopathic
clown in a
killer clown
cornfield.
within. Yeah, it's going to drop on Shudder very soon. It's recommended if you want to watch a slightly brain dead
Yeah,
horror film.
fun
So I
trailer.
recommend that. But
The trailer made me
yeah,
smile. So yeah.
yeah. So it's dropping on Shudder very soon. So I'll recommend Final Destination Bloodlines, and I recommend the last 2 hours of Mission Impossible, but not the
Okay.
first hour.
Right. So I'll
The
show up
rest are
2 hours
just
in.
a mishmash of being okay and being absolute trash.
I think the best film I watched this week was it's a film called Amber Alert, which I think came out last year. And I thought it was just going to be a disaster movie. I'm like, Amber Alert, whatever. Wasn't familiar with what the term Amber Alert was. But it is actually a film about a little girl that gets kidnapped. She gets snatched off the street. And then this woman hires an Uber driver to get from A to B. And they see the Amber Alert on the phone, which is like, this child has been kidnapped. This is what she looks like. And she thinks, oh, the kid's in the car that we're following. So they end up chasing this car all over the place to try and hunt down a kidnapper type thing. I really like that film. There's nobody in it that I knew. I not even heard of the film. I don't know how I ended up just pressing play on it, but it was a nice 90-minute, tense little thriller. It reminded me of that one that Hal Berry was in. Do you remember when somebody snatches her kid and she's like, right, I'm going after you? Don't know if you've seen that one, but that was really good.
Is
Um,
that
that was a
a
Netflix thing, I think.
call?
I think so, yeah.
I
She's
if it was the call, I've seen the call. She plays a sort of like an agent on the phone, and somebody gets kidnapped or something.
Don't know if it's no, I don't think it's that one because she's a mother who somebody snatches her kid in front of her and she sees the car drive off and she's like, right, she goes after him like a piranha. But Amber Alert's that kind of film where it is all primarily set inside the car. There's lots of use of phone calls as they try and hunt this kidnapper down. I think it's Signature Entertainment or something that have released it, but I put it on thinking it was going to be a movie about a disaster or a terrorist attack or something like, oh, it's a kidnapping thriller. Really, really like that one. And the other one I watched
Um,
was Warfare, the Alex Garland film,
yeah,
which really, really good film if you can use that phrasing because it's harrowing as hell. It is. It's set in real time, so you got Joseph Quinn in there, Will Powter. They're part of an American Marine squad, and they come under fire in Iraq, and it's just like 100 minutes of chaos. It's pure Alex Garland. I really like that guy. I think if I see him involved in a film, it's like, oh, I'll check that one out. But
well, we have got an Alex Garland film at the end of this month.
28 months, 28 years later.
Yeah,
Yes,
at the 27th at the end of this month. So
I am
the
looking
the
forward to
director
that.
the director who turned around and says he's not directing another film, and then he ends up directing another four.
And it, and it,
Yeah,
keep doing them, oh Alex. I'll keep watching them. So you
because
don't you retire.
after that he's going to be doing the Elden Ring film because
Nice.
he signed on to direct and write the Elden Ring film for A24. With some of the script, well, some of the backstory and story of the film is going to be done by uh, R. Martin, George R. Martin.
Okay. Is that George is finishing something? He's actually writing something. Well done, George Martin.
Well, he
Cool.
wrote a lot of the lore and backstory to the Elden Ring video game anyway, George
Yeah.
R. R. Martin. So he's concentrating on all of that stuff rather than the stuff that he should be doing on Game of Thrones and stuff like
Yeah,
that to finish that.
he needs to get back to writing, does George R. Martin. But yeah, my favorite films, Warfare and Amber Alert. I started watching the director's cut of Rebel Moon. I did like the Rebel Moon films, right? I know most people don't. I enjoyed them. So I thought, right, I'm going to check out the director's cuts, which are like an hour and 15 minutes longer than the theatrical one. I kind of bailed out because yes, it's got more violence, it's got full on nudity on it, swearing, and it's like that Rebel Moon doesn't need that. And it
Mhm.
just felt really weird. And rather than watching the film, I was thinking, is this a new scene? Oh, that's a violent scene. Oh, look. And I'm like, I'm not even paying attention to the storyline, but I did enjoy the shorter versions. Can't even call them theatrical ones. But I just bailed out on the director's cuts. I'm like, no, I'm going to watch something else. That's how I ended up watching Warfare and Amber Alert. But no, I do like Snyder. I like Rebel Moon 1 and 2. Not a fan of these adulted up. It'd be like putting
Yeah,
swearing and full on nudity in a Star Wars movie. Like, doesn't need that. So
and changing it to Star Wars instead.
yes, exactly. So I just hit the eject button. I'm like, I'm out. What have you got lined up to watch this week? Anything exciting?
Um, I'm not sure if there's anything film wise. I'll just watch something that interests us. If I see or watch the trailer or something like that, I'll just go, you know what, I'll watch that. I do have the Switch 2 coming. So I've got a
Nice,
Switch 2 coming on Thursday because that's
nice.
when it drops, releases. So I've got that coming on Thursday. So that'll keep me entertained. But yeah, it's when I see a film, I'll just go, oh, I'm interested in watching that. I'll just watch that.
Yeah. So next time we chat, you'll be able to let me know how good the Switch 2 is compared to the Switch 1.
Hmm.
What have you got planned this afternoon?
Nothing. Just playing video games. I'm cooking some food, so I'm going to do some steak and
Nice.
garlic roast potatoes and garlic mushrooms and whatever. And I've got a dessert planned as well. And I'm back at work tomorrow, annoyingly.
Boo.
I know.
But
So
no.
it's just a chill Sunday.
Nice. That's what Sundays should indeed be. So
Yep.
next time we do this, we will aim for YouTube Live. I'll work out all sorts out. So very faffy. But for now, this one has been done on Zoom in two parts.
Yep.
Not that people will know any difference because I'm going to try and edit it so it seems like one. But
Awesome.
you enjoy your afternoon, Stu,
Same with yourself.
and I will chat to you the next time we chat. But I will keep up to date with your Blue Sky reviews as well, which I do. So, all
Cheers.
right,
Thank you, then.
take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.